Hello and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Aaron Nace, and I'm so excited to be joining you for the second part of our workshop with surrealist, Afrofuturist, storyteller, creator of visions, artist like none other I've seen, amazing colorist, David Alabo. I am so excited because we are bringing back everything that we learned yesterday to build a collage, a composite in Photoshop, and today we're going to be animating it. David, so exciting to be with you here. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and maybe just a brief little introduction to your work and what we're going to be covering today?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that amazing intro, Aaron. It's just as much my honor to be sharing the stage with you. Just a quick little introduction about me in case you missed day one. My name is David Alabo. I'm a visual artist from Accra, Ghana, and my work sort of delves between Afrofuturism and Surrealism, and it spans across various mediums such as like illustration, 3D, virtual reality, and also collage, which is what we're going to be doing here. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Just excited to go into day two and animate what we did yesterday.
Beautiful. Can you just scroll down a little bit on your Behance so everyone can get a good idea of your work?
Yeah. So this is some of my collage work, some of my my more recent 3D works. Can go into a bit of my collage work and we can see what we have here. It's the Disco Ball Man. Got some more optical illusions, desert vibes. You know, I love desert culture. This is kind of what inspired what we worked on yesterday. You know, sort of my love for brutalist architecture and space, sci-fi, all of that good stuff. So yeah, this is just a little, also the panther, you know, we gotta have the panther. I mean, yesterday we created this crazy fusion of a zebra and a panther.
Yes.
Because of one of the chat suggestions, which was awesome. I love that so much. Yeah, so this is just a little sneak peek of some of the work I've produced in the past. So yeah.
Absolutely stunning. Your work is just a pleasure to look at. I feel like it just draws me in, and I want to live in these places. I want to be the super colored rendition of life. And I'm so excited for today's broadcast. For those of you guys who haven't done so, be sure to check out yesterday's broadcast as well, where we put everything together in Photoshop. Now, if you missed the last Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge with Howard Pinsky, you can catch the second week of replays every single weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And I'm super excited today, in just an hour or so, we're going to be going over our artist spotlight. So this is our chance to feature artists in the Behance community. And if you have any suggestions, make sure to put your suggestions here on behance.net/live, where you can suggest an artist who you'd like to be featured in the spotlight. Let's go ahead and do a shout out to everyone here in the chat joining us from yesterday. Jan Eric Edvardson, welcome back. He says Xanther. Yeah, yesterday we combined a zebra and a panther due to suggestions in the chat. So it's a live class. David is gracious enough to actually take your suggestions and incorporate them into his work. So be sure to check out the chat where we're interacting this entire session. So Ferry Udamo says, hi, Bliss and Gareth. Nice to meet you, Jimena. Nice to meet you, Guy. Cody. Hey, David and Aaron. Everyone is loving the broadcast. Without any further ado, David, do you think you could take us into Photoshop and maybe just kind of go through some of the layers and some of the things we did yesterday to get us started off here?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to just unselect most of what we did and then just show you quickly what we went through. So, I mean, first, it was about just laying a little black background since, you know, we're working with space. Want to give a bit of a start. So most of what I picked were straight from the Adobe stock, you know, amazing quality of photography, high res, you know, which is really what you want to be working with, especially when you're doing collage work. You know, you want to make sure you're working with the best of the best so that your work is the best, you know. So this is just a quick rundown of some of the it looks crazy already, but I'm just running through, but you're gonna see how it all sort of comes together. Little tweaks to the colors, the lighting, just slowly going through all the steps. You know, we had the desert, the sci-fi bike, the panther. So it was a very organic process Aaron and I went through yesterday to build this world. So yeah, this is kind of how it all came together. You know, it's the start, it looked a little funny at the beginning, but you know, that's like the beauty. It's like you're painting, you know, it starts rough, but over time it starts to like come to life. So this is the piece that we did, a little bit about sort of the themes and messages that we were thinking about was, you know, the theme of the live stream is creating an Afrofuturistic collage. And just a little bit about Afrofuturism. We talked about it a little bit in depth yesterday. It's sort of a movement that has kind of blown up in the last 5 years, but has been going on for like 30 to 40 years. But essentially, it's about envisioning a future or futures where Black people especially are thriving, are successful, and are building an inclusive community that sort of builds on these on the foundation of technology advancement, science, and just basically creating a world, a future where we're strong and empowered, you know. So that's kind of the message that we went with. We have this strong, powerful Black woman sort of decked out in this West African clothing with sort of a sci-fi cyberpunk mask. Just to talk a little bit about the relationship with nature in the future, our relationship with technology. And those are the kind of questions I ask myself personally as an Afrofuturist. So that's why we have the pyramids, but they're not just ordinary pyramids. They're kind of fused with trees and nature. And we have the sort of space nomad here with the bike, kind of like representing us as the viewer, or inviting us as a viewer into the world, because we're visitors to this world, you know, and we're sort of like looking up to this kind of larger than life figure. So that was kind of the thinking behind creating this piece.
Yeah, and it's so cool. Some things that I learned about your process, and not only your thought process, but your process in Photoshop, is it seems like you kind of start off with creating the world in which the characters live, and then filling that world with characters, and then translating that into Photoshop. I see that you start off with your backgrounds first. So like the galaxy was in the very back, and then you have the buildings, then you have a pyramid, and then your subject and the other pyramid in the foreground. So there's a real interesting parallel that you have between creating the worlds both in your mind and in Photoshop as well, so that your workflow kind of follows your thought patterns. I find that really interesting about your creative process.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, essentially what I'm trying to sort of show is that your style is completely unique to you. How you do things is completely unique to you, and that's what makes you special as an artist, in a sense that it's not something that's exclusive to Photoshop necessarily. As much as, you know, it is born out of it, it can really be transferred to any medium, whether it's painting, whether it's illustration. It's more about, like you said, the workflow, the process, the thinking is what I believe is more important. You know, when you can ask yourself these kind of questions, it really helps like define style, and a more defined style is a more recognizable style, and in a world of so much amazing art, you really do have to stand out.
Yeah, it's so true, and especially the world of digital art. It's a fantastic, it's a fantastic platform. We have all these wonderful ways to showcase our work, and I feel like there are just more and more visual artists out there than ever before. The tools are getting better; they're becoming more accessible to anyone, and the platforms for sharing them. So I feel kind of like the visual art form as a whole is being kind of like risen up. And as there are more artists who enter the space, more competition, it pushes us to get better and better. So I absolutely love it. But you're definitely right. Finding your unique style and your unique voice is what's going to help separate you from everyone else.
Definitely.
So today we're going to be animating this piece. Now, can you speak just a little bit about why we're doing an animation? You've kind of hinted upon it yesterday, but I'm curious to hear your thought patterns behind why we're going to be animating.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what I was talking about yesterday is you kind of have to, as an artist, you have to understand the market, your audience, and I feel like us as a species are sort of being hardwired to appreciate motion more so than something that's still, which is it's not something like this. I'm not taking anything away from still images. I mean, most of my work is still, but in a way, sometimes you do have to produce something that hits that kind of sweet spot in your brain, especially as I was saying, like we do a lot of scrolling, we do a lot of we absorb so much visual information in a sense that like our brain kind of prioritizes what is going to catch the eye. So like, I mean, I'm sure there've been studies that like when something moves immediately, it can be more recognizable. So it's just sort of another tool to add to your arsenal. Like you don't have to animate everything, but knowing how to do it is just like going to help you. And because even with client work, with freelancing, they're gonna ask you, can you make it move? Can you do something for it to pop on social media? So it's important to know that you can't say no. You'd be like, no, I only make still images. That's it. Don't come to me with anything else. That's fine. That's your, you have every right, but it's gonna land you more work, which we all appreciate as artists.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's art as artists, we kind of like walk that fine line of like the art that we want to create and the art that we do for clients. And you're right. Yeah, most clients these days want a little bit of motion because it's become so commonplace through marketing, advertising, and through social media that yeah, it's just another great tool to have in your arsenal. So yeah, without any further ado, can you kind of show us your workflow on how we're going to get from Photoshop to Adobe After Effects?
Definitely. So what I'm gonna do is just sort of save this file again one more time, just to show you like the continuation from yesterday. So just gonna quickly save it, and I think from now I can just close it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna open up After Effects. And basically the integration from Photoshop into After Effects is very seamless. That's why we kind of went through the hustle yesterday of naming everything, kind of layering everything nicely, because it sounds like a lot of work, but in the end, you're just saving time, and honestly, like time is the one thing that sometimes, that's my biggest like hurdle as an artist, is finding the time to do everything. So if I can like cut like 10 minutes off of something, like that's 10 minutes I could be, I don't know, eating or sleep, like contributing to making sure I can produce more art in the sense, like it's the only thing, time's the only thing that is finite in a certain way, So it's important to get as much time off of your hands for other things,
100%, 100%.
Um,
I feel it.
yeah. So I just opened a new project. I'm just gonna hide this floating. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just go to file, hit open project. Yeah, I believe it's no, sorry, import, and then just go to file. You can even drag the Photoshop file. I've seen that before. And what I'm gonna do is look for this. I named it yesterday, even though it took me an hour to save it. Never do that. Always save your work. And I'm just gonna double click it. And this is important. Don't rush past this. It gives you like options on how you want to import the Photoshop file. So I'm gonna leave everything as is, and it's just like making sure editable layer styles is selected, which means that it's just gonna match that Photoshop appearance. I'm gonna hit OK, and it should pop off soon. Okay, so it landed here. So now it's here, but you're not seeing anything, and it's automatically created a composition, which is like what we're gonna be working in. So I'm just gonna double click it, and then boom, we have that here. Yeah, it's giving me a lot of views, but I'm gonna try to see if I can just remove this to one view. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this is the piece that we had, and all these extra lines that we're seeing around are just extensions of the images that we had in Photoshop, which is really good to know because it's showing you where the frames are and sort of how you can move things. So it does seem a bit daunting when you kind of see all these layers, but really it shouldn't be a problem. So sort of like just to give you a little bit of an overview of what I'm trying to achieve today, is that we're working at the end of the day with flat images. So how can we push that full 3D 2.5D effect and make someone feel like, because already the piece has a lot of depth, you know, it has a background, it has a middle ground and a very visible foreground. So we can even push that more, you know, and really this is just a little way to show you, but like the possibilities are sort of endless with this. They can be so complex, so intricate, you know, but just for the sake of time and clarity, I'm not gonna go too crazy, but just to give you the general understanding of how I work with flat images and turn them into this kind of 3D style.
Cool. Yeah, it's so cool. And I guess, you know, because in your baseline image, you've got quite a bit of other
the handle, but just for now, I'm just imagining that someone is sort of following from day one without really
perfect
going into day two, like, you know what I mean? So I tried to keep it as true to day one, but essentially you want to be as prepared going into After Effects, just because it's super heavy on the CPU and on sort of the resources side. So even with me right now, I'm not running my premium setup, you know. So if things do like sort of lag a bit, you know, don't come at me, you know. I am working on getting a bigger, better machine, but this is just to show you that like you're not limited by your tools, you know. You don't think that you have to have it. It's more like if you want to do things the fastest, yeah, you know. But really, I've been working with like very basic things for a long time, and you can get there with that, and it's just a matter of choice after if you want to do things faster.
Yeah, that's such a good perspective. I feel like because, you know, the combination of art and technology with computers, I think there's always a desire to say like, oh, I need the fastest, best computer out there to be able to make art. And, you know, that's simply, you know, it might take a little bit longer to make the art that you want, but, you know, technology isn't really a limiting factor. Usually it's like your own mind and, you know, determination, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, even me myself, I'm like, I can't do this without this. I can't do this without. And it's like, that's just your brain trying to create limitations for you.
Yes.
Like the best work comes from when you have like sort of the things you don't really feel like you need, or things you feel like aren't going to help you, because it's going to create something that's unique, something that's different, and trying to be different or trying to be unique is something I feel like we should all strive for, just to find your own voice, find your own style. Obviously, even my work has been influenced by other artists in the past and stuff, people who've done this before me, but I've managed to pick up from a lot of different places and then sort of melt them into a little pot, and then that's me, and that extends to even beyond art, your experiences, your memories, and all that stuff. So yeah, let's just all aim to be unique, so nobody's fighting over, hey, you copied this, you took this from me, like I'm gonna sue you and all that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that artists, at least I know I struggled with in the beginning, was finding my own style. I was like, when am I going to find it? How do I do it? What's my style? Do you have any words to speak on finding style and where you think style comes from as an artist?
Yeah, trust me, it's not easy. Like I feel that like every day or every other day I wake up like, oh my God, I don't like my style, or like I see someone's new work and I'm like, oh, that style is amazing. But it's just like what's it called? There's a term, like it's a bit of like imposter syndrome. Like you've made it, you've done something that's dope and unique to you, but your brain is trying to doubt you, something like that. So I try to like, it's very hard, but I try to accept that I've built something, or I've created work before in the past that's unique, and I just try to think that like, just keep going, or just like brush away that kind of negative thought, like, oh, I don't like my style. Just like accept that emotion, let it pass, but don't let it affect what you do next, but finding the style is experimentation. Finding your style is introspective. It's looking into yourself, and it's hard because it's like you have to really ask yourself, what about you can you share with the world, or what part of you feel like is maybe the most powerful thing. So for me, it's like I find peace and healing in sort of serene, almost desolate landscapes. I like that feeling of sometimes just being alone. A lot of people feel like, oh my God, like being alone is the worst, but I feel like there's a lot of strength in solitude. As much as we like humans, we like social interaction, like when you're with yourself and your thoughts, like that's where you really can ask yourself like these questions that can define your style. Even something as simple as, what's my favorite color? It'll surprise you, like you haven't even asked yourself that question. It's something that's been floating in your head, and then you can ask yourself why you like that color. What does it represent to you?
Wow.
And even just doing a little Q&A with yourself like that, and even writing down these themes, that's a step towards finding your style. So I'm not trying to sound like some guru that knows, I struggle with this on the daily, but I'm learning how to cope. It's about like trying to learn how to manage those insecurities, or sort of thoughts that aren't too nice, to put it like that. It's tough, but every day you get stronger,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I need you as like my artist therapist. Like I could come and talk to you about.
I know. I mean, I'm my own therapist. I'm my own art therapist. So it's like I've suffered. So I've learned, like I've learned mistakes, and I'm still making mistakes. And I just try not to put myself too down, But you need a support system. You need people around you that can lift you up, because sometimes you yourself, you can't do it. So very important to have people around you that understand you. for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely huge. Absolutely
Yeah.
huge. I completely agree. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much on the like a little brief into the mind of an artist. It's so cool. I think that there's so much power in learning these programs, but there's also so much power in understanding how an artist thinks. So,
Exactly.
you know, excited to delve more into it.
Definitely. Yeah, so for this piece, essentially it is gonna get a little bit like mathy and a bit like finicky, but like it's just a basic principle that I feel like if a lot of people can learn, it just takes your work to the next level. So what I'm gonna do is just go to layer new and then hit a camera. And it's like, oh my God, camera, like no, but like it's, trust me, it's gonna be amazing. So I'm gonna hit the camera. Okay. So I'm gonna hit the camera and basically this little button here, it says 3D layer. So essentially you're gonna make almost everything kind of 3D. So I'm just gonna go through and click that for most of everything, except maybe the galaxy in the background. And so what's gonna happen is that if I go and show you two views, now you're gonna see that, hold on, let me see, switch. Okay, so we're gonna see that this is kind of what After Effects is working with. So we have the image now, but it's kind of like flat, but this is our camera right here. So what we're gonna do is essentially move things along this Z axis, which is like the distance from like us looking to the artwork in front of us. If you don't get it, like trust me, just seeing me do it, you'll understand. Like it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around this, but I also kind of I also have that kind of 3D background, so working with this kind of makes sense, you know, and it's something that I think it's not too hard to get. So what we're gonna do now is create a null object, and that's just so that we can parent that to the camera, or the camera to, no, sorry, I'm gonna make that a 3D object first and then parent it to the camera. I'm sorry.
What other 3D programs do you have experience with? Asks Christian in the chat.
Yeah, so I have experience with Blender, Cinema 4D as well. Those are the ones that I mainly use, but I'm also sort of working with other programs such as Touch Designer, which is like a visual, it's kind of like a way to design things when you're using projections, you know.
Cool.
So sort of like projection mapping and working on how to sort of build art with code in that sense. So like I said, my practice sort of revolves around trying to find like the newest technology to sort of reinterpret ideas that have existed long before I have. So what I'm gonna do is just start arranging my objects. So I'm gonna find the hero and this guy up here, and I'm going to pair it to the null. And then what I'm gonna do is when I what I'm trying to do is that when I scale the null, it should affect the position in the camera. Hold on a second. It's a little but once we get this first step done, I feel like it should be fine.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely like arranging everything and getting everything set up takes the most time. And then animating is like, oh, look, all
Yeah,
the hard work
exactly.
is done.
Exactly.
That's so awesome. What would you say? Jan Eric says 3D programs are too technical. What would you say to a person who thinks that maybe it's a little bit difficult to get into learning 3D? Any advice you might have for them just starting out?
So yeah, basically, YouTube is your friend. You know, everything I learned as an artist has been sort of self-taught. Has been me just like going and finding one thing I want to recreate, and then sort of putting my own spin on it. So I start small, and then from there, like you can start to sort of find ways to make things your style. Don't be too worried about the technical side of it as yet. There are definitely tutorials that are aimed for people who don't want to feel intimidated by 3D. So yeah, I mean, YouTube University is kind of where I learned all my my tricks, but I'm just having a bit of an issue right now, so I'm just gonna close this and start again. Just because I don't know why it's not working for me so far.
Yeah, totally. I go through the same thing all the time. It's usually like one checkbox somewhere that
yeah, exactly.
You can't find. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I kind of went through this before going live, just so I could make sure everything is okay. But essentially, just not to waste too much time on the technical bit. This is kind of where I got to. So essentially, I moved everything in the space of the distance between the camera and the work. So what I did was that I had like, it's hard to see a bit, but like I'm trying to zoom in for you guys. So here I have the hero, and I have the bike right behind him. I have another desert, and then I have the desert. So I've basically spaced them out in a way that when I start to move this camera towards the screen or away from the screen, you're going to go through these elements in a way. So cool. Just so I can quickly show you what I mean by that is that like it's a bit hard to see, but hold on. So this is what I mean. Cool. Like it's gonna go through the scene. Obviously it's taking a little while to update, but that's just because After Effects is a bit heavy, but like this should just give you a bit of an idea of what we're trying to do. It's just to like zoom in and out of the scene, you know, in that sense. So what I did was that I had this super cool nebula that I picked up from Adobe Stock, which was like a free little video, and I'm just playing that in the background a little bit, just to give you an idea of how it works. Let me show you the video.
That's cool. I didn't realize you could put videos in After Effects and have them play in the background.
Yeah, so I mean it should be playing in the background like that, but let me see that for a second. I believe it's this one. Yeah, so I just had this cool like kind of rotating nebula just to give a bit more visual interest. So what I do is I just put that into the program, and it's over here. I have that as the galaxy. So essentially what we're trying to do is just position things along this axis. So this from the first day, I don't remember, like at the end I kind of put like a little bit of a cloud of sort of like a dust sequence to give it a bit of that dust vibe. So I put that right in front of the camera. So I don't know if you can see, but it's hard to see, but once you're moving things along here. So look, can you see that
Oh yeah.
smoke is moving forward. I have my resolution quite low, but that's just to show you like how I've positioned this. So I have this guy here, and you know, I'm moving them just
Cool.
just in front and behind things, so that once I get the perspective, everything is pretty much sorted, right? So what I'm gonna do here is just, this was just a demonstration of sort of how I wanted to go about things. I feel like if I go through setting up the whole, pushing them back and forth, it's gonna take me at least like 30 minutes, but maybe I feel like I should do that, right?
Well, I think for people out there, you know, YouTube University, you know, you can definitely look up like how to set up a three-dimensional scene in After Effects and things like that, because it's kind of just doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's kind of like tedious, but that's where, like I was saying, like you can really like be as intricate or as simple as you want, you know. So what I have here is just, I'm going to just reset this. So now I have the camera set up in sort of the exact same position as the Photoshop file we did, right? And
Nice.
I've sort of arranged the layers from what's closest to us to what's further back, you know? So like I said, most of the hard work we did was yesterday in terms of defining the depth and how layered the piece is going to be, you know? So really we're not doing much work here. What I did here was something I'll just show you real quick. So just for the sake of that feeling of going through objects, I duplicated the first desert we had, and I just made a second copy like this. Like I just made a third one, and so the trick is, like, you create a null object, you pair that, you parent that null object to the camera, and then whatever objects you want to edit or move in the layers, you just attach it to the null. And then so when you attach it to the null, what it does is that it kind of keeps everything in the same frame, because once you start moving things back and forth, it's like you're messing with the perspective of things, so it's not going to look too crisp. So by attaching it to the null layer and playing with the scale of things, you know, the scale of the layer, of the null layer, you can bring things forward and back, but nothing is moving here. So it sounds a little like some magic or some wizardry, but it's like you're keeping things in the same frame of the camera, but everything is kind of being made smaller to fit that perspective. So what I can move this really close to the point where it's even covering our main guys, but like just moving it back, you see everything starts to slowly appear. And the more layers you have, the more you can kind of enhance that effect. So once you have everything sort of like set up and layered out, it's just a matter of make sure you always unparent everything after you've done with the null thing. But what you want to do now is just a matter of moving the camera in forward and backward, you know. But for this project, what I wanted to try to do that was a little different was to start the camera all the way from, see, now I'm moving it. Sometimes it's just easier to move it in the in the thing. So I'm just gonna move it all the way to, like, it's literally feeling like it's right in front of the woman. And bear with me, like, even though it can be a bit difficult working in After Effects, it's just a patient game, you know. It's a patient man's game. Animation doesn't just, you know, like that's why we charge the most bucks for animated work, you know. And whenever someone comes to me and they're like, I need this animated, I need this, and give it to me next week, I'm like, relax. Like, animation, it's like it's an art form in itself, you know. And I'm just the beginner in learning animation, you know. They're masters, they're pros, and when they tell you it takes like, I don't know, 3 months to make something that's like 2 minutes long, you know, I believe them. And I know the kind of pain and sort of like suffering they had to get that. Every little thing matters, and at the end of the day, it's moving. So it's like you're taking one still image and multiplying it by however many frames it's gonna last, and every frame is different. So it's kind of like working on, I don't know, 1,000 different still pieces and merging it together. Like, that's how they used to do hand-drawn animation, like, you know, in the old Disney studios or whatever, you know. It's literally like artists sitting there drawing every movement of the hand like that, you know. So we have to give some time and some respect to animating things. So what I'm gonna do now is, like, I found the kind of the frame I want. I want to start with her there, because I also like a lot of times when I see this kind of parallax effect, you know. If you want to go and look up more videos, I'm sure people have taught this a million times better than me, but it's called the parallax effect, you know, where like things are moving back and forth. Even though they're flat, it still feels like they're 3D, you know. So this one, I want to do something a little different, in the sense that I want to start up on a close-up frame and then open up to reveal the larger world. So what I'm going to do is, like, I've dragged, you know, it's hard, but it shows you the little letters under the arrow to show you which axes you're kind of moving from. And what I'm going to do is just frame her a little bit, hit the keyframe button, go all the way to, so this composition is only about 4 seconds long. I try not to work too long a time, just because it's a bit draining on the memory. So I'm just gonna jump forward to somewhere I think works a little good in terms of the time, you know. And what I like to do at the end of everything, even though I'm working with something that's 4 seconds and might be super fast, I can always stretch it out, you know. After Effects is super powerful at slowing things down, but in a very smooth way. So I could turn something that's 4 seconds into something that's 20 seconds, you know. And sometimes it's nice when things are slow and kind of steady like that. So now that I've set the keyframe, I'm just gonna move this back again, and you can see like it's slowly gonna reveal the world. Just make sure it's in the right spot, and then also bring it down a little bit. And it's kind of keyframing all these elements for me, so I don't really have to worry about how it's gonna all fit together. I'm just gonna match it a little bit with the frames. Bring it down a little bit more.
Cool. It's so trippy to see it move.
Yeah, you're gonna understand like sort of the effect that I want to achieve with this. But sometimes it's just about being a bit patient with this. There we go. Now I can even go even lower than that. So you're not even bound to sort of the the edges that you wanted before. And what I'm gonna do is just hit both keyframes, and obviously, I mean, if you know animation, you know you almost always have to ease just to give it that smooth kind of vibe. So right now we have everything. I'm just gonna have it load out a little bit as maybe we talk about some of these some of the sort of ideas that I was thinking about, or sort of the some of the, how do I call it, the techniques or something, you know. So if you have any questions in the chat, if you have any suggestions for me while she loads out, you know, our space queen over here is loading out. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. Pretty much an open book.
Yeah, let us know in the chat whether you guys want to know, you know, more technical questions about After Effects or Photoshop, or even just general art questions. You know, those are fantastic and welcome as well. And don't forget, everyone, in about 45 minutes, we're going to be doing our artist spotlight. And if you would like to sign up for the artist spotlight or promote someone, you can do that right here on behance.net/live. Alrighty, fantastic.
I wish I could see the chat, you know, sometimes.
Oh yeah,
like some of my friends and stuff, they're like, you didn't see me on the chat, I was shouting, I was like, David. I'm like, bro, I can't see the chat, I'm sorry. They're like, oh, okay.
I'll relay everything I can. So Ferry Otomo asks, who is your favorite surreal artist?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say probably the most influential surrealist artist is probably Mobius, Jean Giraud Mobius. He was a French illustrator. Let me see if I can pull up some of his work for you, just to give you an idea of some of the people that I consider dear to my art heart. And once you see his work, you're gonna understand a little bit why this guy is like, I consider him the king, you know? What's funny about Mobius is that, like, I mean, look at this guy. Like, when you talk about world building, like, I mean, I build worlds, but this guy builds like universes, you know, like, and I picked up, you know, his love for simplicity and minimalism, you know, and making sure like what you're showing the viewer is really powerful, you know. Sometimes we tend to just throw so many things that we're just like, we're muddying the strength of like the singular objects themselves. But like, you know, this guy has created, and what I love about Mobius is that there's consistency throughout his life. Like he lived from 1938 to 2012, you know. And what I love about him is that we both have a love for Jimi Hendrix, you know, like the guitarist. And I was like, how is this guy, like, you know, my favorite artist, also have an obsession with the same musician that I love, you know? So it's like, it's kind of like maybe we were different, same souls, different bodies, you know. And this is probably my favorite work of his, the one with like Jimi Hendrix sort of sitting at this table and his head's on fire. So I first loved Jimi Hendrix and sort of what he stood for, like counterculture, rebel, and sort of a free thinker, even in his music. Like, I considered his music surreal, but to see like my favorite artist also see that kind of inspiration from him means that it's true, you know, like what I'm sort of getting from them is true. So that's one of my favorite artists in the whole world. I'm so sad that he passed away. I mean, it would have been a dream to sort of see him come through.
Yeah.
But like back to the work we did, like this is just a bit of an example of the animation, you know. It's very quick right now, but like I haven't really touched much, you know. What I did was I just put that space background I was telling you in the back, and then I had everything kind of slowly reveal the world to me, and this is only 4 seconds, but after I'm done with everything, I extend and I stretch out that video. I could show you you can just even go, once you're done with everything, you go to, so I'm just wanting everybody to sort of see kind of what I was doing this. I haven't done much of a complex build, but it's sort of revealing this world to the viewer like that, you know, and I think it's super interesting in that sense. But what I mean is that, like, you work small and then you stretch it, especially with things that are like looping or moving a lot, you know. You kind of want to give the viewer time to really absorb it. But when you're working, you can't afford to be now creating a minute long thing and then have to like sort of render everything out as you're like, yeah. So I like to work small and then I stretch things out.
That's a really good tip, especially for those of us who are working on laptops. You know, we don't want to be spending, you know, days and days waiting for it to render.
Exactly. Like even with my my 3D background, like you remember we were talking about how like you always want to find like the next best thing or the next best tool. That's valid when like you feel like maybe the machine isn't allowing you to be as expressive, you know. But once you get to that point, I feel like you've done a lot of work, or you've done a lot of exploring, or you've done the most you can with what you have. And then I feel like that's a good time to be like, okay, maybe we need a new machine. So that's kind of the thinking I was going with this piece. Nothing too complicated, but I will show you a few little things that I did inside to just add a little bit more flair to it. So what I did was I have my woman here. Let's transform. Okay. And then what I did was, okay, let's see if we can work on making this hero here move a little bit. I feel like that's something that some people might be interested in.
For sure.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this guy here, this masked hero. I don't know what I saved him as. Hero. I think I saved him as hero, and yeah, we have him here. And I'm just gonna hit the puppet tool here. And when you click it, it gives you this little pin thing. And what that's trying to tell you is, where do you want, like, if you're imagining it like, you know, what's this guy's name? Pinocchio's little puppeteer, you know, creating him, you know, like what parts of the body do you want to sort of stay fixed, or what do you want to be like the anchor, you know? Like if I wanna move like my hand and make it a wave, like my elbow is stuck. So the only thing that's moving is kind of like this arm. So I would put a pin here, you know. This is about as visually as straight to the point as I can try to explain it. So I mean, it's better I just show you. So let's say I want I like this guy's clothing, you know. So I'm gonna put some points, let's say in places I don't want his shoulders to move too much. I want his legs to stay a bit. So I'm gonna put a point here, and already it's creating these kind of keyframes already for you. I have to make sure I'm starting at the beginning. Okay, make sure it's at the, okay. So once you've set it, sometimes it's a bit like you have to be working with where you placed things, right? So I'm just gonna move it to here, because that's when it's gonna show to you. So you only want to be working on something when it's actually visible to the audience. So I've set up the pin stuff. So once it gets to this part of the animation, then I want him to start moving. So it's as simple as like just clicking and dragging things for them to move. Yeah, it's a bit heavy on the CPU, but what you can do is he's just like moving his clothes around, and then just go forward a little bit in a couple of frames, and
Cool.
then twist it again. So it's not the perfect motion, but it's giving something. It's adding some interest to the guy's piece. And I'm just gonna pin his legs as well, because now they're moving too much. And obviously the more pins, the more heavy it is, but just like try to focus a little bit on the actions that you want. So let's move a bit more forward in the frame and then push it again. And I'm just freehanding. I'm not really caring too much about where things are going. I could even move his shoulder a little bit. And see where that goes. And then there are a bunch of other like sort of tools within the puppet warp tool, but that you can even mess around with, like bend and stuff like that. But just for now, like just to show you sort of how that's gonna go. Sometimes too, you don't want it to render out everything, so you can just use this slider up here to like shrink the area you just wanted to show you, and then it should show you that. So I mean, his head is moving a little bit. I'm not sure if that's normal, but you have to understand that it's also gonna be, it's a flow. It's like moving. So your eyes aren't gonna be so like, oh my God, this guy's head moved. Like it's, you know, like sometimes it's so funny because when I go back and watch something that I like record, sometimes I see comments or something that'll be like, I can't believe he put the shadow this way, or I can't believe he's doing this. And even I know my man Cody is like there, like trying to let people know that, like, you know, the artist isn't bound to rules of realism, you know. We're just like doing things as we see fit, you know, or as we follow. So I'm never too bothered by comments that are sometimes saying like, oh, you're not being realistic, or you're not being true to nature. No, I'm a surrealist. Like if I can like warp that perception of that, I'll be happy to do that, you know. So that's just like, look, I mean, I'm kind of even liking how that's moving. It's kind of like he's like jiggy and like, you know. So like this is just to show you like a way you can animate single objects within a large space. It's just about finding the parts you want to stay stable, you know, like his arm and his shoulders haven't really moved and his legs aren't moved, so you want to keep the things that are stable down there, you know. And then maybe the things that you do want to move, you put a point at exactly where you want to move it, and then you drag it. It's about the dragging it, and After Effects does most of the hard work for you in terms of keyframing it. So it's just a matter of moving, like I'm doing my little slider, like I moved it forward, then shift it a little bit, move it forward, shift it in the direction you want to go, you know. So you can really go. I mean, I've seen people even take Renaissance portraits and then animate them. I'm like, how did you guys do that? Like, but it's just a matter of, like you said, like very carefully putting like maybe an anchor at the ends of the mouth and then moving them up to make it smile, you know. And then the basically I did a little bit of research about how this puppet tool works. So what it does is it creates a little mesh of your object, you know, and it's trying to understand how it can move things. So when you move the point, it kind of shifts the pixel, it kind of distorts it in that direction. So it's so like the puppet tool is kind of like the warp tool in Photoshop, but very specific to the very like you can fine tune it essentially. So this is just to show you an example of something that I did. And even if you don't like the way things are, like maybe his head is a bit too like far up there, you just move it and it takes a bit of time, but it calculates it. And now look, it's back to normal. So I'm gonna just see what else I could maybe add to this effect. So I'm gonna look at other objects that I might want to move, you know. So this is how we have that already, very, very simple movement. But I'm gonna go to the beginning of the video and see if I can maybe move our woman's head a little bit more. And that's just the same application of the pen tool, of the puppet tool, sorry. Okay, let me see, because right now I'm starting the video, but it's way too high up. So that's the beauty of moving the camera. I can literally just like direct my own scene, you know.
Yeah, it's so cool. And you can change your mind at any time, make adjustments at any time, and you're not really locked into anything.
Yeah, no, I'm not. So I feel like maybe I want her to move once I'm out of that. Sometimes like how I'm working maybe might not necessarily always be the best. Maybe you want to have the camera not moving at all, and then puppet animate all your movements and stuff like that, and then you can sort of direct the camera. But even like you can even really like it's open to whatever sort of interpretation you want. Like I could even start from the bottom here. Obviously you have to be aware of where things are positioned. Move this, I could move this atmosphere thing a bit further down, and then like start the scene going from the bottom up. So something like that, like you're flying through the air or something like that, just to give you an example. Like you're going up. Cool. So like yeah, the different ways you can present the data or the piece that you want, you know. Oops, sorry, I'm messing with the wrong thing. Like going up, all the way up. And like I said, sometimes it's easier to just go to this little button here. It says one view. You can make it two. And honestly, sometimes I find that animating or moving the camera in this kind of view is much better, because it allows for kind of quicker movements, you know. So like I can go and its translation to the real life feed is a little bit quicker. So what I meant is that like, yeah, like just seeing how you can go around and move things in the camera. It's really up to how you see fit, you know. So this is just an example of how you can like sort of take something that we did in Photoshop yesterday, and just add little bits of motion and pizzazz, you know, a little bit of flair to these objects using, like I said, you create the camera, you set it up in that sort of space, and then you distance the object as you see fit in the thing. And then once you've sort of set up how you want the distance of the objects from the camera to be, it's just about messing with the camera now, you know, and playing with it and seeing and maybe rotating it however which way you want, back and forth like that, or zooming all the way out, you know. So that's just and then from there, once you've set up like maybe how you want the camera to be, then you just add little things like I did. I put the space, the galaxy at the back instead of like our static image. And then you can, like I said, use the puppet tool to just sort of move things and kind of distort their bodies a little bit.
Jimena Quiroga says, make her move her arm and catch the zebra. And then there's a big chat saying, it's a panther. No, it's a xanther. Oh yeah, xanther. Z series. Everyone's loving it.
So the thing is, yeah, like I don't know if you can see, like I basically just moved her head just a little bit. Like I know I can you could do things dramatic. You could pick up the panther and have it like fly across the place, you know. But for me, it's like I'm just thinking about very subtle animations, the kind of animations that even sometimes they look like they're still, you know, but the more you look into it, those subtle kind of animations, that's kind of what I prefer as an artist. But really, like, you can do whatever you see fit. I'm gonna see if I can try to get this panther to grab the guy, seeing as that's what the people want. So just about matter of positioning my camera so that I get everybody in there. And like I said, animation takes time. You don't expect to do this all within like the time we have here, but it's like just to give you some of the thoughts that sort of go through my head when I'm thinking about them, and then you can do whatever you see fit. Okay, so things are a little bit funky here. I feel like my camera has kind of gone all over the place, but that's fine. I mean, let's see what we can do about that. I feel like sometimes when I'm talking so much, it's hard for me to really like, because when I'm working in like complete silence, you know. I'm working to the sense that I'm working just me and my head, you know, me and my headspace. So sometimes, excuse me if I'm like sort of all over the place, you know, because it's really hard, you know. My girlfriend's always saying like I can't multitask. And it's true, you know. So y'all should give me some credit. I'm speaking, I'm thinking, I'm in After Effects, you know, the holy grail of Adobe. So just be patient with me a little bit. I appreciate you guys.
Everyone in the chat loves it. They say, "You got this, David."
I got this.
I feel the same, man. Yeah, sometimes I'll get in front of the camera to make a tutorial, and I'm like, I can't talk and think and do at the same time. The wires are getting crossed.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, but like obviously I'm getting better at it. But like I just feel like right now I've completely like I'm struggling to get that smooth motion that I had before. So what I'm gonna do, so this is why I'm saying that sometimes when things get a bit too crazy, you know, because it usually does get like this. Things can get so like messy and janky, you know, but like don't panic, don't worry, like it's fine. Like you're gonna be able to figure it out. So I mean, luckily, because I already saved the work before.
Nice.
I'm just gonna like start from that again, just to give you an idea of that. So it's like I'm not gonna save this, alright, because that's gonna be a problem. but like it's okay to start from fresh again, you know, like
Totally.
isn't it like you know, nobody's behind you like, hey, don't refresh this, you know, like it's really like I can tell you the number of projects I have that aren't finished. It's at least 20 times more than my finished work.
Wow.
You know, yeah, like seriously, I'm sure it's even more. I have so many files, so many projects, so many things that I spent so much time making, and at the end of the day, it just didn't work out. But it doesn't mean that I have deleted that. Everything is on my hard drive. And by the way, always get a second hard drive. You know, it sounds crazy, but like backing up everything into one hard drive is as risky as having it on your computer, because like I don't know, the other week my hard drive was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was just carrying my hard drive with my laptop, and all of a sudden it just fell, and it even fell on like a carpeted floor. I was like, oh, it's fine. I plugged the thing in, and it's like error, you know, and I lost all my projects, my files. Luckily, I was able to back some of them up to the cloud, you know, but it just made me realize that like get a second hard drive. I'm talking about like physical, like if some of us here, like, you know, internet can be expensive, you know, uploading things to the cloud is not a realistic option for a lot of us, you know. So getting, even if it's like right now, you know, they say like the more time goes, the cheaper storage gets, and now it's not too expensive to get 500 gigabytes, a terabyte, you know, and then back up everything on a second one, because I really was like a mess. I couldn't get my projects back. And what I mean to say is that like keeping all your unused projects is so important, because you can just go back and pick one thing. You're like, oh, I did that. Let me pick that up and let me reuse it for that, you know. So a lot of times, even with like client work, when I have like writer's creative block, you know, and sometimes it can last even up until the person is texting you like, where is my work, like give me my work, and you know in your heart you haven't been in the space to create the work. What I like to do is just sometimes go back to old projects, and that in itself can be a starting point, you know. Try to find a work or something you've done before that is kind of similar to what your client or whatever who's asking you wants, and then from there you can work, you know. So I always try to keep all my files, and now I learned the painful lesson of keeping another one, just in case things go wrong, you know. And we're always like, yeah, it'll never happen to me until it does, you know?
Until it does. Yeah, it's tough lesson to learn.
It's tough, you know. Something I don't wish on my worst enemy, you know.
All your work down the drain.
Yeah, so also like it's good to, because I saved this. Now when that whole thing got messy, you know, I can just go back and start from a point where I feel confident, you know. So what I'm gonna do is see if I can animate the woman here a little bit more using the puppet tool. So essentially we've got the basics down. I mean, we could always go back and watch it again, but now it's like, what do you want to change about it? Okay, so now her arm, you said you want her arm to grab the panther. Okay, let's see. It might look a bit funky, but let's see how we can go about doing that. So what I'll do is just like, this is maybe where I want her to start picking it up. Okay, no, I'm gonna start picking him up right at the beginning. Okay, and then move a little bit forward. And then I'm going to now drag the arm, and let's see what happens when I drag the arm. Okay, because the arm is sort of behind the desert, it's not really going to give that that effect, you know. And also like I don't like really pushing the puppet tool that much, you know, like I said, it can get a little janky, you know, it can get a little bit like rough, you know, but what I was just trying to achieve with the puppet tool is subtle motion, you know, like maybe the arm would go up a bit. So I'm sorry, bro, I can't grab the panther, but maybe you can recreate it and then send it to me and be like, hey, you didn't do it, but I did it, you know, and it was easy, you know. So feel free to hit me up after and let me know how it's done. So I mean, like for me, what I would do is just move the arm up and down close to the pyramid, and that's about it. I wouldn't go too much. But like I really like that question. I really like how that person is thinking, you know. And it's good to ask yourself those questions when you're making the Photoshop file, you know. Maybe I could have put a bit more time into thinking about how that's gonna animate, but yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. Like if in your mind you're like, I have the animation in my head, she's gonna pick up the panther. So then you design the piece to kind of allow you to do that, you know, because like I said, we're working with flat images. So, you know, if we were taking this to like maybe the 3D space, I could whip it up quickly, but you have to also understand the limitations of the medium that you're in. You know, you want to be realistic, but you don't want it to look bad. At the end of the day, like we don't like things to look bad. So maybe I would have put the panther, let's see, move him closer to her arm so that I don't have to extend it so much, you know. So let's see, and the good thing is that I think everything is still pretty much editable within the framework of it. Okay, so it's moving the panther a little bit, but yeah, cool. It's like, so you can get finicky, but like this is just to show you what you can do with it, you know. So maybe put the panther a little bit to the side, so that's like, yeah, okay, maybe the panther wasn't there, but like now maybe it's gonna look a bit more believable when she grabs it. And the reason why like her arm was blocking is because like if you look, this panther is right in front of this desert, but like I could take it back and have it go behind that, you know. So you are really like, this is also a fun way to introduce yourself to the terms and sort of the things that go with 3D, you know. Like it's super powerful what After Effects is doing. I think it's almost too powerful for my simple laptop here, but like I said, I really take my time with these things. So like I'm patient and I'm willing to like take the time to make things. But what this shows you is like things like y-axes, which you may not have known. I mean, we all did math, you know. I mean, I didn't do it that well, but like it shows you little things that like are very much transferable to learning 3D programs, like my man asked before, you know, like and so I'm really like amazed by some of the tools that I'm learning with After Effects, you know. So like moving things on the Z axis, like it'd be surprising how long it could take you to understand something as simple as like 3D space, you know, because we are just used to like living our lives and not really understanding like the physics and the math behind how things work. But like for me to even be moving to the screen like this, I'm moving in like I would say in the Z axis, like towards you, you know. So understanding these things, like we were talking about this, Aaron, yesterday, like picking up skills from other things and reapplying them in a new way. Like learning this, you could be like, okay, I can understand a little bit more about how the 3D space works. And so from there, you can use that as a stepping stone to learning a free. So by the way, Blender is completely free. It's a 3D program, open source. So the entry point is basically just how much are you willing to learn? How much suffering are you, because like they've given you this program for free, and so how can you like learn this? It's just about putting in the time. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Putting in the time and making sure you're dedicated to it. What's your end goal? What's your vision that you want to create with this? So I'm just gonna go back to the puppet tool. Selected.
Yeah, I started learning Blender this past summer, and it's so much fun. And there are so many great tutorials online. The program is completely free, and even just creating something simple and kind of getting a start is just it's a really good milestone. And then you can always get more complex. You can always create more stuff. But yeah, there's so many tutorial series out there on YouTube for free, and I think learning 3D is, like you said, David, it's just another tool in your arsenal that you can use, and you might not even use it right now with your creative work, but later down the line, you could be like, oh, it'd be cool if I did a 3D object in this composition, and you can kind of bring those things together.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, I think even with me, as sort of like my journey is that like, I'm never satisfied with being sort of in the same position. Like I'm always trying to push myself, always trying to learn new things, and that's how you keep your brain interested. Like I get bored pretty easily,
Me
and
too.
it's not yeah, I feel like all of us creators, we're a bit like that.
I know. Give me some stimulation.
Exactly. So it's like that urge to learn, it's not something you take for granted, like that desire to be curious, to explore, it's special, so never take that for granted, and always strive to learn, that's what my dad always tells me.
It's a good, and you never know where these skills are going to come back in later in life and play a big part.
Fact.
Yeah, it's so hard to know how all these things interact in your life and in your art. And, I think everything that you learn and everything that, you form new opinions on can really help kind of form who you are as a person and how you see this world.
Exactly. Like I fully agree with that. And we're saying this, it's not like we were born with this information, it's something that we've paid the price to learn in a way, like, and sometimes that's why like sometimes I think it's okay to be in a position where you can make a mistake, because
Yes.
like I know people that are always living their life to avoid something like a mistake or something going wrong, like, which is nothing wrong with that. And I feel like, yeah, of course you should, but like being a little bit like, yeah, if the mistake happens, yalla, like in the same in Morocco, my mom's place, yalla, like let it happen, because honestly, we are so stubborn as a species, we until it affects sort of our livelihood, we're never gonna learn the lesson. Like I believe so. So like make the mistake, make like try that and let it fail or whatever. Let people laugh at you. Like who cares? Like okay, they'll laugh at you. But when you learn it and you come back and you show them, they're not gonna be laughing at you. They're gonna be like, wow, like this. So don't always try to live perfectly. Like I mean, I feel like I'm a perfect example of that. Like I thought I wanted to go to business school. I thought I wanted to work on, I mean, not on Wall Street, but basically I thought like the business route was for me. I even went to school for 4 years, but what I learned from those 4 years has completely changed the way I move as a creative, and Even though I didn't manage to make the $100,000 salary on Wall Street that I promised my parents I'd be doing, they're still proud of sort of how far I've come on my own, because they know that like I've had to learn, I've had to make mistakes, I've had to do things on my own, and that's something that like your parents or whoever it is, they're gonna appreciate, you know. So yeah, like my route to coming here has been so like twisted and winded, but I'm so thankful for that, you know. My approach to things are different, and that's kind of like, I like that, you know. So what we have here is like this scene. Instead of it going backwards like I showed you, I tried to go inwards, you know. So that's how I made the piece, you know. And it's like, you see how it's kind of revealing everything slowly. And this is a sped up version, don't forget. Like you're thinking like, wow, this is way too fast for me. Like I said, we work small and then we expand, you know, especially when you're limited in resources, you know. This is a good example of working with limited resources, but don't let that discourage you, you know. Just find ways to work smart, you know. Like what was another thing I wanted to show, but I kind of just left my head there, you know. So like I said before about the piece, you know, like it is moving fast, but you can sort of get an idea of what we're trying to achieve with it, you know. Like
Yes.
it's as simple as putting the spinning spiral background. And what I like about this spiral background as well is that it's creating a frame for the woman's head, you know. It's giving it a bit of how do you call it, like it's giving it a bit of a lighted background so that her head is more focused, because her hair is black and the background is black. So you want to make things as clear as possible. So that's why I picked that particular nebula, you know. And I found it on Adobe stock, you know. I licensed it. I could even have gone the 4K version, you know. So you can literally use this for like film projects or stuff like that, you know. And what I was able to do was that I saw that like, yeah, like that little middle bit would be perfect to direct the eye to her and make her feel like she is in really control of not just the space around her, but the universe, you know, the astronomy behind her, you know. So like, I think about a little bit about why you're picking this stock image. Think about why you're doing that, you know, because asking yourself those questions will really help you in the long run. So like, I'm looking at this piece now. I love everything about it. I love how it's even zooming in. So what I'm gonna see is like, I just feel like the guy at the beginning is jumping a bit too quickly for me. But what I can do is just edit all of these little keyframes here. You know, I can edit it to see how how much I like it. So I'm altering
Nice.
the position of the guy. You know, I just wanted him to float, but he's floating a bit. He's more like hopping, you know. I want him to just like gently flow. So I can even extend these keyframes to kind of stretch out the motion, and then go inside and fine tweak it more, you know. So like, it's even showing me all the positions that I had it at. So I think he went up a little bit too high. You can see all of that happening in real time.
David, this is looking so great. In about 30 seconds, we're going to be jumping into our artist spotlight.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so excited. And for those of you guys watching, if you haven't already done so, you can go ahead and promote someone to the artist spotlight. It's right here above the chat here on Behance. So if you are watching this on YouTube, head over to Behance and you'll see there's a chat, info, and artist spotlight right there on the right-hand panel where you can promote to our artist. And we have an artist today. I'm super excited. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can see our artist spotlight for today.
Okay, good. Okay, cool.
All right. So today's artist spotlight is haribudi, B-U-D-I, visual artist, Nikon Indonesia official photographer. Yeah, and looking through Hardy's work, I'm amazed, not only just
Wow.
in the overall consistency and quality of their lighting and their subject material, but I'm also really drawn into these worlds. And David, I'm curious to get your impressions because you are a world creator. So you have, what impressions do you get, and what do you feel when you look at Hardy's work?
I mean, this is just like I haven't even seen the work before, but like immediately it's striking me. And you know what? I think the thing about world building is that we like to see how you're carrying elements across the different worlds. Like I'm seeing this, the position of the kind of like slumped down with the legs out. That's something that I'm seeing there. That's the artist's way of showing the form or the posture of these characters they have. And for me, that's so amazing. Like there's such a delicate appreciation of color and a very refined use of it. Like the tones are similar, but how they're used is so mind-blowing. I just love for me, like, yeah, just the kind of, I don't know what I'm looking at. That's what I love about it. Like, it feels familiar. It's grounded in some sense of reality, but I'm like trying to understand this guy's mind, which is what I love about his work. I love the use of the architecture and the sort of the showing a little bit of something, like this one on the top right with the cat. I love how just the cat's tail on the left is moving, just the frame of the moon behind it, like leaving a little bit to my imagination. That's what I really love. And also not being afraid to show darkness, or to show not everything has to be sunny and beautiful, and like sorry, not beautiful, I meant like sunny and kind of like upbeat. Sometimes gotta show some of the darkest side of humans, because I'll tell you, like, I often connect stronger to like when someone shows the sides that people don't like talking about. Wow, this guy is amazing.
Yeah, incredible
and you can
work.
tell this he's a master. Like he's been doing this for a while now. Just from the cleanliness of the work, and also, like we said, world building. Everything feels like it's part of the same universe, and we're just guests. We've been invited to take a sneak peek at this guy's universe. So I mean, props to Hardy. Like this is really cool work. I don't know if he's on live now, but if you are, my man, like, you're amazing.
And what would you have to say? I know you're very intentional with the color that you use, David. Analyzing Hardy's color, what are some things that you take away from this use of color?
Okay, so I mean, obviously I love the colors as is, but what I like about it is how he's contrasting them against more neutral colors, sort of like putting the green cube against the sort of beige gray cement floor makes the green pop even more, and you're not just left with that amount of information. You're also given complementary colors or on the side, like even the little bit of blue and dark blue in the background, and then the pink on the side accentuates the green for me, because my eyes are completely focused on the green, but my peripheral vision, my side vision is picking up all this information that's affecting my main focus, so that's kind of how I'm trying to understand how he's using it. There's an incredible amount of depth to the piece itself, and I just love how he has the cat's tails coming. Like he doesn't want to show the cat, which is like, I'm like, wow, I really want to see this cat, you know? So, I mean, that's something I'm even getting inspired by. I often also try, even in my work, to just give, like, even with this piece here, like, just give a little bit of the frame, you know? Don't give everything to the viewer. And I feel like that's what, oh, wow, this is crazy. Okay, so for me, what's really striking about this is that he's so intentional with his composition. Like that moon could have been in the center, and I'm pretty sure 90% of us would have been like, it's perfect. But like putting it to the side a little bit actually creates, I mean, I'm sure this guy can explain it a million times better. I'm just giving my opinion. But I feel like him putting the moon a bit to the side creates a relationship and a tension between the character, who's also slightly to the left. So there is like symmetry in it. There is a balance in it, but it's not the kind of balance that like, yeah, everything is symmetric, everything is perfect. It's more like one thing's relation with the other creates that balance, you know? Like, and I just love how like, oh my God, like this is like, I want to be there, you know?
Me too. Yeah.
Like, you know, like it looks, I want to talk to this woman and see what she's thinking, you know? I also really am very impressed by his use of more like limited color palette, you know, because me, I'd be going crazy, red, green, yellow, give me everything. But he's like, no, let me take these three colors and really create that kind of, you know, mood where it's like, yeah, moody, you know?
Yes. And then we see the same characters over and over again here. So we've got, you know, some storytelling and theme. And
hey, we finally see the cat in the other one.
Oh yeah, just the back of his head.
The back. No, it's so cool. I mean,
we're not going to see
conceptual, you know.
Yeah, and then you know, his Instagram mixed with pictures of himself, you know, in galleries, and then we're back to the art. So I think that, you know, it's nice to see both the artist as well as their art, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's something I also struggled a bit, because when I was starting to share my work, I think it almost came out of a place of wanting to do something that doesn't involve posting myself. And I feel like a lot of people can maybe relate to that kind of feeling. Like, I just didn't like the idea of putting, like, judging validation of myself based on likes or based on comments or whatever it is. So that kind of threw me off in the terms of, like, I never wanted to post myself on social media, but I realized that, like, it's a way for people to connect with you more so than the art, you know? So over time, I started sharing pictures of myself, and I know a lot of other artists feel that same way. So it, in a way, it was good, because I was like, okay, if I can't make posts about myself and get value, I'll make something, and then people can like that, you know? So that's when I started creating, you know, these collages, this artwork, and then getting that sort of like feedback and stuff was nice. But then over time, I realized that like you just said, him as the artist is just as important as the art. And that's also with if you want people to collect your work, you know, that's something I also been struggling and only finally been understanding now, is that like collectors want to hear you talk about your work. They want to hear you. They want to hear what it is that inspired you. You know, I remember I had this exhibition in where was it? I can't remember, but essentially the night of the actual show, something happened and I wasn't able to be there. Things happened and I could have been there, but at the last minute, I was like, you know what? The art's gonna sell. I don't need to be there. Nobody wants to hear me talk about it. Like, the art will speak for itself. But then the next day, I went to pick up I went to pick up the artwork. It didn't sell, by the way. That was karma, basically. It didn't sell.
Karma will never let you go.
You know. So, but the guy who was curating the event, you know, he told me something that I'll never forget. He was like, if you're gonna show your work, you have to be there so that at least if somebody is looking out to get that work or something, they're not gonna buy it until they sort of match what they think with what they believe the artist is gonna think, or you talking to them is gonna make the arts give it a completely new life, you know. So ever since I learned that lesson from there, I'm always trying to be as close to my art as possible, if that makes sense. Like, don't even give people the chance to turn around and walk away. You'd be like, oh, what did you think about it? You know, honest criticism, like, you know, something like that. Like, you connect with them, like, share your honest opinion, or what did you think about it? And listen, even listening to their interpretation, I swear it's gonna give you like 10 ideas, you know, because like every time I have a show or I display work, like I almost never try to give my interpretation, only because when people tell me what they think of it, I'm honestly floored, you know, because I can now see the art in a different way. And everything they said about it is 100% true, but would I have even known that had I spoken to them or have ever conceived that idea? No way. So like, don't like this guy, like putting his photos and showing, it's just a way for us to match that face with that, you know. I mean, you could go Banksy, you could go the route of Banksy and be completely anonymous, but hey, you gotta have the cloud of Banksy, you know. I mean, he can be anonymous, but like, again, I fully understand why some artists don't like to be out there, especially even in the crypto scene, you know, the crypto art scene. Like, I know a lot of artists that just don't like the idea of showing themselves, and I think that's valid too. But if you're feeling like I should have more sales, or I should have this, and I should be selling more of my work, then I think you should do something different, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's some things I'm learning, but yo, Hardy, amazing. Like, I'm blown away because I haven't discovered this artist before.
Yeah. So there's a link here in the chat for Hardy. We're going to go ahead and get back to David's work. Thanks so much, David, for sharing all of your thoughts on creating art. And it's really great to hear your experiences, especially from the gallery perspective as well, because I know a lot of us haven't had that perspective. So it's cool to be able to learn from your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I still have such a long way to go. I'm not even, you know, like out there like that, but like I'm learning every step of the way how I can make that relationship better, you know. And at the end of the day, like, something I also learned is that, like, you owe it to the people that collect your work or appreciate your work to be better, in the sense that you are giving them, you are creating value for them. Because if they decide, okay, this guy has gone, or this woman has risen so much that, like, the artwork I bought from them 5 years ago is worth, let's say, twice more, you've already instantly created value for them outside of creating value for yourself. And when you can create value for someone else, that's so much more powerful, you know. So, like, I always try to tell myself that, like, I owe people like me getting better, or me trying to improve as an artist, you know. Like, that's kind of how I'm trying to shape my thinking these days. Is like, what can I do to make the people that put me where I am, you know, the people who made the career as an artist possible, how can I create value for them? And one way to do it is just by improving your craft and getting better, putting better work out there, putting more effort into getting your work seen, you know. All those kind of things are super important. And yeah, you don't take that stuff for granted, for sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's such a great perspective. And it's like a community perspective. And I really love your appreciation of the viewer, the people who are going to be looking at the art. I feel like a lot of times it's easier to think about things as the artist first, but it sounds like you're really focused on your viewers and making sure that they are considered as a part of your art process.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're making things for other. I mean, it's kind of tricky. I'm not gonna say like, but it's like, yeah, you're making art for your own self. Like I make art for me personally. Like I'm talking everything outside of commercial work and stuff like that. When I make the art, it's just for me. But are you just making it and putting it in your room? I mean, I am. But are you not putting all your work in the room? You're gonna put it out there. You're gonna share it online digitally. So at the end of the day, it's left you, like it's now in the eyes and minds of other people. So like, how are they gonna feel about it? Like it's a bit like, yeah, kill your ego and like,
yes,
kill your ego as an artist and really like understand that people have their own like journeys and stuff. And sometimes people tell me like, you know, I get comments on my Instagram or my Twitter like this guy's an Illuminati or he's a devil worshiper. I'm like, what do you mean? But I just try not to get riled up by these things, you know. Like that's just your opinion, and if you don't like the art, then like there's a million other artists you can go and check out, you know.
Totally.
So yeah, like definitely, I think thinking about the viewer is very important, you know. So yeah, I mean, we have the piece basically done, you know. Like I said, I don't like to put with the collage work. I like to keep the animation a little bit subtle, just because I don't like things looking too how do I say, looking too a bit forced, you know. So what I do with this piece, I mean, I don't think I'll have time to go through the whole thing, but basically what I would do is once I export this video, right, and I export it, it's like, okay, how many seconds is it? It's 4 seconds. What I'm gonna do is stretch that out to, let's say, 3 times its length, so 12 seconds. So it's gonna get that little bit of a smoother like speed gradient. But then what I do is that I flip the video. When I flip the video, like there's even a simple button there to when you go to effect and time, there's a way to reverse the video. So when you reverse the video, cool, and then you attach them side by side, already you've turned 4 seconds into 24 seconds, because now it's gonna go like it's going now. It's gonna zoom into her. And yeah, what I liked about zooming into her is, as well, is that like we get the vision of the world, but then we're like zooming into her, I mean vice versa, because she is looking down at the world. So like she's the one that we're gonna eventually like draw our eyes to in that sense. So once you've done that and then you reverse it, it comes back like that. So it's like, it doesn't just cut at the end, it's like a loop. So so that's just like some ideas for you guys to sort of, I do this all the time, so it's kind of like a hack or a quick tip. It's like whatever you've made, you can make it slower, you know, in a way. Like you can give the person time to enjoy it, and then at the end you flip whatever you have and then you join them, and so it kind of always continue in a fluid, seamless way, you know. I don't have time to do all that, but it's really not that hard to do. You can even hit me up if you want me to give you that that lowdown information. I'd be happy to help you. It's just about, like I said, working smart, you know. And what I like is that like even the way it sort of zooms in, and then like the world the galaxy behind her starts spinning. I like that a lot. So what I added, that was just a little bit of a you know, a little bit of a flare or a bit of, is this like little dust, you know, when it's zooming in, you can see like some dust coming out of there, just to give that feeling that like you're moving in, you know. So you have to also think about how that movement in could affect some of the elements, you know. So seeing as we added that dust at the beginning, that means that there's dust all over the place. So like zooming in means that the, you know, like when you're in when you're like in a car or when you're on your bike and you're driving real fast and everything is kind of whipping behind you, you know. So what I did was just I found like a little, how do I call it? Where is it? I found a little video, and even the opacity is turned down to like 32. This is what it looks like fully.
Oh,
what
cool.
I did was, yeah, I'm gonna even put it on the normal blending mode. It's even crazier. This is it, and you're like,
cool.
Whoa, what's all this, you know? And it's just a video of like some air or something moving in, right? And what I did was just like, first of all, it's a bit too much, but I really like that effect of it moving forward. So I just turned down the opacity all the way down to like 32%. And even then, this is good for me. But then I always say, experiment, try with all the blending modes, everything. Like, just like in Photoshop, you know, like it's the blending modes that you get these funky, you know, psychedelic, trippy results, you know. So I think for this one I had it on lighten just because I wanted some of the whites and stuff to blow up, and all it does is just give that feeling that like there's some dust going, you know. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you saw it in the video, you know, it adds to the feeling, you know. So there's really not much. I could have spent like I said, like weeks working on something like this, but I just wanted to show you guys some of the tools that you could use, and not to be really worried necessarily about, you know, oh my god, a camera, working in 3D, you know. It's just very basic principles, you know. Like what we did was, here, let me show you. Let me just recap quickly kind of what we went through.
Nice.
Yeah,
we got about 4 minutes.
David, so what we did was that we just created the camera, and the camera already sets itself up there. But and then after that, we created a null object, which is like just a way to hold things around the area. So we tied the null object to the camera, and then you go one by one into each element. You know, when it comes as when you import it into After Effects, all flat, you know, it's one flat image here. So what we did was just bring out, even you can't even see it in the back just because of how wide the depth is, but I just separate out, push things forward and push things back towards the camera. Like you can see our hero here. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it's flat. But by having that kind of separation, you can really take your art to the next level and make people feel like, whoa, how did he get the things to zoom in? You know, I was so funny. I was showing this to my my friend, and she's like, it's just a zoom. I'm like, it's more than that. It's not just
more than a zoom. It's three-dimensional space.
It's three-dimensional, you know. But like at the end of the day, like you can spend like 20 weeks working on something, and then someone is like, but it's just, you know. So
it's so true.
Take things into perspective. You know, I laugh. I found that so funny because it's like, sometimes you just need to be humbled a little bit. But it's not just, I mean, she was joking, but it's not just a zoom. It's just a way for you to explore the ideas of what's possible, you know. And like my man said, you could have all sorts of things going. You could have like things being picked up and stuff. But for this piece, I just wanted to just blow a bit of life into a still piece, you know, not necessarily have it go crazy, but just subtle movements, whether it's a head tilt or I could even have gone crazier, have colors changing and stuff. But this is just like a short time to show you some ideas, you know. And then at the end of the day, once you have whatever you have, like I said, you always try to work in a short amount of time.
Fantastic.
Talking about the time frame.
Yeah, David, thank you so much for just beautiful insights through your entire creative process from Photoshop to After Effects. And for those of you guys, don't forget to stay tuned for the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge replay with Andrew at 11:30 Pacific time, and followed by Logo Design with Lizzie Campbell. Again, David, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us. It's been a fantastic stream.